Hi everyone, welcome back to Good Stuff TV. This is a bit of a different episode from usual. We're doing a bit of a vlog style. So I'm going to a mate of mine. His name's Damon. He's a rally car driver, and I just wanted to sort of shoot a bit of an interview with him. So he wants me to do a sponsorship video for him in the future, but I thought I'd just start off with what I usually do, which is the montage of cars and an interview with him as well. And then if he sort of likes my shooting style, or we can adjust it and then go from there. So we're just driving to him now. It's about an hour and a half drive. And once we get there, we'll show you, his house and all the rally cars. And probably the next shot after that is going to be the interview starting. So come along and hope you enjoy the video. All right, let's get it.
My name is Damon, and I'm what you'd call a rally rotary guy, I guess. Addicted to rotaries and rally. Got introduced into rallying back in the 90s by a guy I'm still friends with today. Drove the truck because I was a truck driver, and went to a few Queensland Rally Championships type rallies and stuff. But then I moved away for a lot of years to the US, so got out of it for a while, but then took about 10 years to finally pull the trigger and get over the line to get the first car out on the actual, in the forest. Like a lot of people don't realise with rallying is that there's a lot of small things to get you over the hurdle to get out in the forest. You can have a car that's roll caged and suspension and stuff, and people will sell you a car and say, yeah, it's turnkey rally car, but to get over those final hurdles, it costs, it's a good bit of money chunk. You've got to be dedicated or really want to do it to get over that hurdle, to get that car out there in the forest. There's not a lot of prize money in rallying. People ask me, what do you win? And it's usually a 50-cent trophy. I've never won a trophy yet, so I'm yet to win my 50-cent trophy. That'll be the best day ever if I win a trophy, even if it's a 50-cent piece of plastic. Yeah, if I can get to that level where I'm up at the pointy end, that'd be great. But if not, it's still a lot of fun, Okay, so with the R100 that belongs to my mate Pete, it's been a rally car since the 80s. Pete's owned it on and off since the 80s, and Pete's in his 60s, I guess, and he's owned a lot of R100s, but his bucket list item is to do the Otago Rally in Dunedin in New Zealand, and we've been over a few times to check it out as spectators, but next year we're going to race over there. So the car's been off the road since 2011 when he crashed at Coffs Harbour at the WRC at Coffs Harbour. Actually, when he crashed this car, Ken Block was in the rally, and Ken Block pulled up beside him when he was crashed, and because Ken Block had crashed out as well. And he actually said to Pete, he said, "Don't tell me you crashed that pretty little car of yours, you know."
Guidance 4 minus 30, left 4 plus 50.
He totaled all the front on the R100, it destroyed the front of it. And he shouldn't feel too bad about it because the stage that he crashed out in, Sebastian Loeb also crashed out in that stage, also Ken Block, so decent rally guys also crashed out in the first stage, you know. Recently got it drivable, so it can actually drive. It's had a whole new front put on it, a front clip, and some repairs done on the rear quarter. While he had it apart, he decided to go and have the whole front end redesigned. Pro Race Engineering, I think Rob's business is called, down the Gold Coast. He designed all the front end and did a chromoly tube frame front end underneath the suspension. A for weight, but also for strength. Like just the weight saving alone is just incredible. He went with an Escort quick rack and pinion. It's 5-linked rear end. It runs. It's basically BDA Escort style suspension out of the UK that all the guys run in the UK. So it's basically been adapted to the R100 to make it so that if he bends something, he can just order it off the shelf for the car. It's running AP Racing lightweight calipers on it. I had a friend of mine make up the billet mounts for the brake calipers. 6B Engineering runs a Cosmo engine in it. It also runs one of Alan Moffat's old Hollinger gearboxes from back in the Group C days. So it's an actual Hollinger gear set in a Mazda gearbox. So it's pretty cool. That's quite a rare part in the car that makes it a bit different. Yeah, we've just basically been updating it, put a pedal box in it, so it has all new tilt and pedal box, and I put a new hydraulic handbrake in it, all new fuel lines through the interior, painted the floor, so it's running Teflon fuel lines, all new fuel system with the surge tank has a built-in pump and everything. Just tried to make it more reliable, but yeah, it's 90% finished, and we've got another few weeks to go on it to bring it up to spec, to drivable, like to get out and actually testing. Yeah, it's a very torquey little car. I went in it back in 2011, and yeah, it's a fun little car, but super rare car. So people are going to freak out when they see it rallying because it's just, you know, they're pushing up over $150,000 for a nice one now, and here he is throwing it through the forest, you know, as a gravel rally car. Not even a tarmac rally car, which people could probably stomach that a bit more. So I had my eye on the RX-8, which I knew it's not a classic, which I like the classic rally cars, but it's two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, and it's a rotary as well, which I like, but also much stronger, well-built. And that's the thing with rally, it doesn't matter how good or how fast the car is, if it doesn't have the suspension to handle the bumps, it could just throw you off into the bush at any minute. So economically, if you want to go rallying, if you pick a rare car like the R100 behind me, it's whatever your budget is. If you can afford to rally like a car that's rare, then fair enough. But the RX-8, I figured they're still in every wrecking yard. I can buy the panels, don't even have to repaint the car. If I damage the panels, I can just buy black factory colour panels, bolt them back on, but just the majority of the parts are still cheap and available, and that's made the key decision was to do the RX-8. And it came up at the right time. It wasn't for sale, but the guy that built my FD RX-7, Sean, he had it sitting in the shed covered in dust, and I called him up out of the blue and said, do you want to sell it? And he said okay, and yeah, and then we've become sort of mates after that. It's not as cool as the RX-7. It's still cool, but it doesn't have the wow factor of the RX-7. But it's still, it's going to be more enjoyable. Though I won't feel bad. You know what I mean? If I'm damaging it, there's no emotional attachment to an RX-8 like there is an RX-3 or an RX-7. So it's sort of maybe it's a mental thing, but you could drive 10/10 instead of 7/10 with a car that you're not worried about destroying. I think you'll back out of it more with a car that you're worried about damaging, and you won't have as much a go of it. It had been rallied before, but it hadn't been rallied for 10 years, and the car's been fully rewired, so there's no factory anything RX-8 in the car. Basically, it's just the motor. The motor's turbocharged, so that sort of affects the class you can run in as well. So it's pretty much going to be an all-comers class, so it's just like an open class. But that doesn't worry me. To get it out, it's just going to be fun. I can always take the turbo off it and just run it naturally aspirated, but until the turbo shits itself, I'm happy to run it because it's quite fun. Yeah, we've been put it in, put my seats, new harnesses. The Rally Safe was already in this one, most of it. The Rally Safe is like a GPS tracking system for timing and also for locating a vehicle if it's crashed. They can tell that the car's had some significant G-forces, so they know that the car's crashed. It's also handy for if a car comes up behind you, and like a faster car comes up behind you, it will let the navigator know that there's a car that wants to pass. Well, I put in a new Monet trip computer, rally computer. Yeah, just tidying up basically, because the dashboard was pulled out of it because it's gone away from any RX-8 factory computers or anything like that. So it runs an aftermarket injection setup computer, but it's also gone back to analog style gauges instead of digital gauges. So it now has all the, tacho and fuel gauge, everything basically that the RX-8 had. It's been replaced with old school stuff that we've had to sort of rewire everything. And the motor was rebuilt when I bought the car, and it's done basically no kilometres. Built by John Waterhouse down in Canberra. I think built the engine in it, and it's got a brand new turbo on it as well. G-ready turbo setup on it. Just a small turbo, but it's just enough to get it going. It's not big horsepower. It's shy of 300, I guess. It's probably less than 300 horsepower, but it's enough on the dirt. That's plenty for anybody on the dirt, I think. Like I said, it's all MCA gold suspension. It's had extra suspension travel, extra long suspension arms and stuff. So like when you drive an RX-8 on the road, they already handle unbelievable on the road. So you throw it on the dirt and they straight away, you're already ahead of the game because the car already handles good on the dirt, on the road, So I think you're ahead of the game if you get something that handles good as a start. So rather than buying something that was always like a 120Y Datsun or something like that was diabolical in the rain or something like that, but then they make all these improvements to make them handle. But if you start with a vehicle that already handles, I think you're a bit ahead of the game. So if it's got independent rear suspension, bigger horsepower, rear wheel drive, like as far as old school cars like RX-7, Series 4.5 or Mitsubishi Starion is another good one, like stuff that's a little bit ahead of the game as far as handling wise to start with, rev out to about 9,000 RPM standard. I don't look at the tacho much, so you know, with the turbo, you don't shift that high. Like 6, 7, like I think I short shifted a lot more than with the turbo because it doesn't need to rev as much. But remembering to short shift, remembering to shift earlier and not just hold it flat in any gear, that's another thing as well. So with the turbo engines is that, whereas the naturally aspirated ones, you can just hold them, rev them right out. When we were younger, we used to, back when I had an RX2 when I was about 19 or 20, and we used to race it through the forest just for fun. You know, no roll cage. I did have a Recaro seat in it, so I felt like I was in a race car, you know, and basically just belted through the forest flat out, you know, and then that was like an adrenaline rush of, you know, yeah, we can go out to the racetrack and it's fun. I enjoy going out to the racetrack, but there's no adrenaline rush like through the forest and you're hitting 180, you know, through the trees. And the Gold Coast, when we grew up on the Gold Coast, there wasn't a lot of traffic. There was no speed cameras, no red light cameras, no cameras of any type, and we used to just pretty much have free rein to go out and go sideways anywhere we wanted, drifting or thrashing our cars through the forest, or you know, all that sort of stuff. There was plenty of dirt roads, and yeah, it was different times, I guess, now. But the RX3 that I've got here is my brother's car. It was mine. I built it 10 years ago and was building it into a full rally car, and then took a job back in the United States. So I went back to the US, packed the whole family up for 18 months, went back to the US, and the car was just parked in the workshop. So I sold it to my brother, and he doesn't want to sell it back to me, so it's staying his. So it's another one I had. It's a monster port. He put the monster port in it. I had a 13B bridge port in it. I put the 6-speed in it. So it's got an RX-8 6-speed. It's 5-linked. I had it 5-linked. Some of the 5-link was already done. I just had to I bought the shell. The shell was built years ago, and it was 5-linked. The shell was 5-linked, but I had all the links made up and stuff, and had the car sort of drivable, but it needed, like I said, to go rallying, it still needs a lot just to get it over the line to go rallying. But again, the car is sort of so nice that, you know, people like, you don't want to rally something so nice, but and also how hard they are and the cost of them. It's that's that other limit as well. So my brother has just run it on the tarmac tracks out at Morgan Park, but he hasn't rallied it yet. So hopefully in the next year or two it'll be on the gravel and rallying and get him back out there. So to get into rallying helps if you've got deep pockets, but to get into rallying, I think you just go and service for somebody, or go to a car club, join a car club, go to a rally and volunteer. That's the main thing, is they always need volunteers. But get to a rally and just volunteer to go out on a roadblock or time control or something like that, and just get to know how it all works, which will make it a lot easier when you actually do get to race, because you'll have an idea of what you've got to do. And there's a few things that I didn't know a lot of it. My navigator, I just left it up to him to learn it, and he was as fresh as I was, so you know, he studied all the rule books and all the stuff, and he learnt it more than I did. And I just said, you tell me where to go, and you know, and then I'll just drive the car, you know. So I sort of relied on the navigator a bit. But I think if you get into it, but also join a club and go and do like the drive days out on the dirt tracks and stuff that they do, and just get to know the cars, and then you'll actually get to meet rally drivers that go out and test their cars and offer to service for them or go and help, you know, and then you just get into that surrounding of the people that are into rally, and then it just all sort of flows on. And you know, once you go to a rally, you just want to keep going. And you know, some guys will get into navigating first because if they can't afford a car or can't afford to start, but they can navigate and still get the thrill of rallying, but from the navigation seat. But they can also learn a lot of how to drive by watching the driver, and at the same time, I think a lot of guys do that as well. I'm not one to sit in the passenger seat, but there are a lot of people that will do it. I prefer to be able to rally and driving, you know, so the adrenaline rush is just incredible, yeah. And also like the camaraderie, I guess you'd call it, when you're after the rally, when everyone's sitting around talking about, you know, what part of the rally they liked the best and where they screwed up, or where they, you know, just what, you know, the excitement they had on their day, or you know, they might have had an off or something like that, and it's sort of that's a good part of it, yeah. And it doesn't matter if you're competing against each other, they'll still help each other out to make sure that their rally cars are still trying to compete for the day. Like I went to Oberon Rally last year in the RX-7 at the start of last year, and I broke the gearbox after the second stage and destroyed it. I broke a gear selector, and one of the other competitors was like, well, let's whip the gearbox out and have a look at it. And I was like, no, this is an FD RX-7. This is not a whip the gearbox out car. This takes a few hours to get it out. It's a one-day event. It's not worth me pulling the gearbox out for that. Basically, April 2024, we'll be at Otago, Dunedin, New Zealand, with this car and my RX-8, and possibly one or two other guys that we know that are heading over. Probably the best gravel rally as far as like classic cars go. It's probably the best. The Alpine Rally in Australia is quite good, but the Otago Rally, the roads are just incredible. So it's going to be pretty good to watch. We've got a workshop in Dunedin, Retro Automotive, that we're going to be running out of while we're there at the event. A friend of mine, Corey, runs that, and it's a fairly popular event because it's also on a world stage. You know, like every year they have like one of the ex-top WRC drivers or one of the top drivers from around the world will come in and be like just a star, basically, driver that comes in and does the event. Yeah, it's always pretty good to see who's going to be at the event. And yeah, so a lot of the Europeans are watching it, the Americans are watching it. So it's quite a big event in the rally scene around the world for people watching that event or going to that event, you know. Yeah, we've kept the car pretty clear, you know, if anybody's looking to jump on board and put their name across a world stage, it'd probably be a good way to go if anyone wants to look at that, you know, get in contact with us, and we'll be happy to, no matter how small it is or how big it is, we're happy to invite people in, and we could do some drive days if they're interested in coming for a run in a rally car. If anyone's never been in a rally car, which is probably a lot of people, you know, we're going to organise a day or two to get the rally cars out and testing, and get some people that want to come out for a run in the cars and experience it. So yeah, the next thing to do in rallying for me is just to get to a point financially where I can keep a car in New Zealand. Like, I wanted to have two. I was going to keep the RX3, ship it to New Zealand and store it over there, and then race it over there, and then also and then have one here to race. So now the goal is to start to make enough money to afford to be just following the rally calendar around the world. You know, that'd be the ultimate goal. Would be, you know, obviously it's going to take a couple of years to sort out, but I think that would be the ultimate, would be to be able to rally in a couple of different countries, because I used to live in the United States, so now I follow a lot more of the rallying over there, so it would be cool to actually do some of the events over there, and without taking a car from here, I could actually buy something over there and then store it. I've got plenty of places to store it in the US that I could, and then just fly over and, you know, with my race suit and helmet, and just go and rally every, you know, at least once a year, twice a year or something, you know.